United 4, Wolves 1. United are back. United are back. We're back. Everything is forgiven. The last couple of weeks of shit have all been forgiven because we beat Wolves. We beat Wolves. The two points from the entire league. They haven't beat a single club, but we're back. We're back. Bruno Fernandes is cooking. This whole team is back. What a performance. Absolutely amazing performance. This team is back. We're in the top 4. We're gonna go on a title push. What a time it is to be alive. Oh, all is forgiven. Guys, this week, even though you've been moaning to the mail, you've been saying, oh, are these ex-players? Oh, we need a bit of time. Even though you lost to Everton at home, 1-0, West Ham at home, 1 point. All is forgiven. All is forgiven because you've won 4-1. What a pile of bollocks. Look, we're going to get into this evening. I've got some questions I want to ask. I've got some questions I'm going to say. I've got some ask. You know, those of you who are hammering out, hammering in, players in, your players out. I want to know where you stand now because we beat I want to know where you are tonight. Basically because we beat a Wolves team 4-1, an abjectly terrible Wolves team 2-1. Are we back? United are back. We're cooking. 4-1. Get in there. We're back. Amorim is the greatest coach ever in the history of the entire world. What a club. We're back. We don't need players. We don't need players. What a win. All is forgiven, lads. All is forgiven. It's a title push, a title charge, all of the way. I mean, the first thing to say is, look, get into the chat, get into this amazing community. I want to get into this tonight. Look, it's a good win. Nikarutsu says, Nikarutsu, the newly dubbed the moderator extreme, Sir Nikarutsu. First thing to say is, look, get into this community, this amazing community, get into this amazing chat. The only thing that we asked is be respectful to the community, be respectful to the mods, be respectful to me and to yourself. Otherwise, the ban hammer comes out, and we've got Nikarutsu who will bring down that ban hammer quicker than you can say. Either begin, right? So, just be respectful. Second of all, look, I am not a dictator of this chat. I really do read out your comments. That's why these shows take so long. Just because we don't agree doesn't mean I don't respect your opinion, and I sort of respect the courtesy back, and also respect the courtesy to this community as well. So look, obviously it's all popping off tonight. Like, one of the first things I want to say tonight before I go into this tonight is, look, ultimately we've won a game. Okay, you're going to get people out there who are going to be saying, just enjoy the win. Just enjoy the win. Oh, it's fantastic. And I absolutely get that. I want you guys tonight to be excited, right? One of the things that I've said, and I've said this many, many times on here, is this. I want this team to win for the fans. Tonight, in my view, tonight's win was not for the fans. And I should tell you for why. Because what's come out this week, and we will go over that as well. But look, I am pleased that they've won for the fans. All they did tonight, by the way, was United did their jobs. You're going to have Bruno Fernandes is back. Bruno Fernandes is cooking. He was good for a half. Bruno Fernandes was good for a half. This team were decent for the first 20 minutes or so. Once again, light switch turned off and Wolves scored. Decent for, again, they could have scored more goals, but it switched off again. Second half was a different story. I think that they know they needed to win this tonight. I don't think they had a choice. And fair play to them. They come out second half a completely different team. Okay, you know, I never felt second half that we were going to lose. You know, again, kind of bored to tears a bit. But look, you know, we won a game of football, and I'm glad you guys are happy. I'm sure tonight. I'm sure tonight. I'm gonna get. We've won a game. You know. Look, I am in support of the club. I'm in support of a manager. You know, whilst people are hammering out, I've been criticising this guy. You know, I've been criticising him more and more for the things that he does. And yet tonight, I'm sure there are going to be people who are hammering in again. I've not changed my opinion on this, and I'm not going to change my opinion on this at all. I've been the manager in because I don't understand how sacking this guy is going to change anything. Many people on the stream were saying, look, Amarin has got this wrong again. I don't like that team. But look, I think somebody said it on the chat as well, is the do we have paper left? Because we are papering up the cracks. So this win tonight, people enjoy it. You know, people who didn't watch the game will see the 4-1 and think, oh, we're absolutely back. You know, there are people tonight who have watched the game, and you know, there are all sorts of fans, right? There's still people who are going to be hammering in, hammering out. People who still, a lot myself. I can't stand this team. I cannot stand this team. There are going to be people tonight who are saying that Bruno Fernandes was the best player in the league now, in the entire world. We'll get into all that good stuff as well. So let me go through some of your chats. So Steve says, whatever Eddie Howe's release clause years ago, pay it. A manager who's consistently hamstringed by this club and still delivers trophies in Champions League. Sick of hipster coaches who don't make sense. Scott says, on to the next one. So look, where do I want to start off tonight? Look, Wolves. Look, let's be clear on this. I think. Look, let's be clear on this, and you can only beat what's there, right? Because I don't just live in the here and now, and because I know what is going to come up. Bournemouth is coming up. Newcastle are coming up. Boxing Day. We've got Aston Villa away. Aston Villa haven't lost at home in 32, 33 games. They are Europe's second best record at home, I believe. So we have to go to there. Bournemouth are going to come home. We've been here with the Liverpool result, right? Liverpool result, we were back. We went there. Many channels, as I'm sure many channels tonight are going to be saying, oh, we're back, because all they want to do is clickbait you guys. All they want to do is clickbait the shit out of this result, because they know tonight that their clicks, because we've won, you guys are going to be happy, and you're going to get on to their stream, and they're going to be going, oh, we're back, bloody, blah. What's a pile of shit, right? I do not do that on here. If you're looking for a channel and you're looking for somebody to tickle your tummy and don't tell you the truth, or the truth as I see it, this is not for you. Now, I will absolutely read out your opinions. I absolutely respect your opinions, and I will never call out your opinions. So if you are happy tonight and you think we're back, brilliant, bring it into the show. If you're looking for a host who's going to back that up in terms of, I'm going to be saying that we're back. 100% not. Look, tonight's performance, for me, it pisses me off. It just fucking gets on my nerves. How you've got these bunch of players who tonight, yeah, we're not doing that, mate. We're not doing that, my friend. Cool. We've got these bunch of players who will turn it on and off, right? So these bunch of players at the start of the week, and people are forgetting about this. And people will forget about this because we won a game of football. And ultimately, that's what it's all about, right? So these players were moaning to Chris Wheeler this week, basically saying that the players, that they feel the weight of what the ex-players say. They see the clips and it pisses them off. Their view is that these ex-players know what it's like to play for this club. They need a level of understanding. These players can fuck off. These players are low IQ. These players piss me off. Now look, and I'm so glad, I'm so glad, Emmanuel, that you're happy in the chat. Right, it pleases me. Right, it pleases me that you guys are happy, and please bring it into the chat, because we absolutely need that. We really do need. Mark Back says Oasis Noel Gallagher is a P3DO, says Caleb. Amazing. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by these players. These are the players that were staying, that pretty much brought out a statement through Chris Wheeler this week, saying that it's not fair. The criticism pisses them off. Oh my God, it's so bad. Nobody understands us. That performance tonight wasn't a performance for the fans. This performance tonight was not a performance for the club. Was not a performance for the coach. This performance tonight was for themselves. This performance tonight was for their own careers. This performance tonight was for their own agendas. Nicky T, look, I am happy. That you say that we're sixth. I really don't care. Look, we're all celebrating a 4-1 win against a side that's won 2 points all season. We actually fluffed the first half. They actually scored. We were okay. The end of the second half, Wolves were coming on to us. If Wolves decided to play a low block, we would have been fucked, right? We're sixth in the league. And look, I'm not trying to burst anybody's bubble, okay? But we've got, look, if we don't win the next game, why does this matter? Right? I cannot celebrate tonight. I will not celebrate this performance tonight. I take no joy out of beating a side who've taken 2 points all season, who were absolutely shit tonight. They were absolutely horrendous. We didn't beat them because we were so good. We beat them because they're shit. Their fans were protesting outside because their fans have actually got bollocks. Their fans have actually got balls, and their fans were outside in protest tonight because they emptied the stadium. These fans are in protest tonight of the owners that they've got, right? They are depressed because they are taking a stand against the people that own them. And even though they know their side has got 2 points, they decided that their club is bigger than these players. And I don't think it's really against the players, but Wolves decided tonight that their fans, who I take my hat off to tonight, by the way, who don't care about who plays on the pitch. Their club is more important to them than players and a coach. And they, irrespective of who was there tonight, they went and were true to themselves, and basically they stood outside their ground. So I actually commend them for that. Wolves tonight, crap. Wolves tonight, look, I'm not even going to pretend tonight, okay? You can all get happy about a 4-1 win. Who doesn't? Right? But don't believe these low IQ, poison, just these charlatans. They're absolute charlatans. And look, I'm happy. I'm happy for fans tonight. I'm not happy for this coach. It doesn't change my mind on this coach. I am Amarin in, right? I am manager in. Okay, I'm Amarin in. But he baffles me. He baffles me. His decisions are terrible, you're still playing a back three away from home at Wolves, and Wolves did not play a low block. Okay, that is the one thing to say. The team, bearing in mind some of these players threw him under the bus this week, and he still plays them. He's got no say. I don't believe that Amorim has any say in this team. I don't believe that Amorim has any authority. It doesn't mean that I want him out. I am not fooled by these arrogant, low IQ players who have the audacity to moan about ex-players, players who have won something at this club. You know, the shirts behind me, they're not good enough to fill those shirts. And because they win 4-1 time, they're fucking celebrating like they won the league because they're sick. Fuck them. Look, we've got 3 games. Within the next 3 games, we could lose 9 points and we'll be back down. So, you know, tonight is almost the calm before the storm. You know, tonight is that when you're freezing cold outside and you've been caught outside and you don't have a coat and it's freezing cold and it's absolutely bitter, and you manage to find like a shop door and it's warm and it's safe, but you are going to have to go out there. You're going to have to go back into that storm and you're going to have to see if you can make it home. Are these players going to turn up next Monday? Are these players then going to turn up at Villa Park? Are these players then going to turn up at home to the Magpies? You know, Bournemouth are not very good right now. You know, can they beat them? You know, if we're talking about top 4 and top 6, right? We have to beat Aston Villa. It's okay to go to Wolves, who are literally on the bones of their arse. The players are awful. The club is being run into the ground. The fans are just absolutely just devastated, and we're celebrating like we've won the FA Cup. You know, when did the standards of this club fall so low that we are celebrating a 4-1 win away to Wolves like we've just won an FA Cup? Why are we saying that we're back? You know, I'm not going to name names because we fucking all know like who they are. I've seen a thumbnail tonight from the biggest YouTube channel. We're back. Fuck off, Goldbridge. I mean, you know, what twat? I mean, I can't even like. I can't even deal with that. I can't. You know, they're going to be. You know, they've got the biggest channel, right? 2 million people, and not all of those people are lucky enough to watch games, right? Not all of those people are lucky enough to be able to watch that game, right? And you've got channels like that putting fucking clickbait shit up saying that we're back. Mate, you're the prick that has been fucking moaning about this team yesterday. You know, I get sent clips all of the time, right? And you're fucking sat there moaning about this team, moaning about these players, complaining about this manager, and tonight you're back and we're fucking back. It's just no wonder this fan base is so turned around. Exactly. I mean, it just there are things at times that I have to call out. Okay, there are things that I have to call out. I mean, look, I don't care. Like, you know, I get sent stuff and all I see is clickbait titles, right? Whether or not this show was Are We Back? And you know, the show is actually with shit, right? It's fucking clickbait titles. Absolute clickbait shit. So look, well, no, Richard, I don't watch the shit. But it is tiring. It is tiring of clickbait nonsense. And no wonder this club is spun around as it is. Let me get through some of your chats, and then we'll go through it again. I'll keep checking the Premier League. We are celebrating, but against bottom of the league, so not taking anything away from folk celebrating. You're bang on, mate. Unfortunately, our team are weak-minded. When it gets hard, they revert back to old. I felt sorry for the Wolves fan because they look so depressed. But to concede a goal against them too, who gets relegated? Look, Wolves are down. Wolves are, I don't know who else is down there. I don't know actually who else is down there. Let me have a little look. Let me look. Who down there? Burnley, West Ham, Forest. I think it's probably going to be one of, well, Wolves I think are down. It's going to be one of Burnley, West Ham. I think Forest will be fine, and Leeds, I think. So I think that. Nikki T says we still need new players. Usman says, what did you think about Manu reception? Will it convince Amrin to play him? Nope. Looking forward to Millwall in the Premier League next season. I tell you what, if Millwall are in the Premier League next season, mate, it will be an interesting league. We were terrible, says Shane. Our first half was dreadful, plus we conceded a team who never scored for 50 days. Mark Holbridge spouts the same old nonsense. We were poor, just shows how bad Wolves are. We're mid-table at best, as Ryan. Be careful what you say, you might get arrested. Goldbridge ain't a United fan, he's a helmet. No, I don't watch that sack of shit. Feel your pain. Everton fan here. In peace, your chairman reminds me of your chairman. He hasn't invested in players, and you have sold hope. You stay up. Yeah, clickbait seems to be the way YouTube works. In order to get people to the channels these days, Liam says, "Can I ask what provoked you to decide to start your own channel?" Liam, to be fair, mate, look. What started me to start this channel? So I think what started me to start this channel is, look, I watched a lot of different channels for a number of years, right? And I'm a man of a certain age, right? I love this club, and one of the things that I don't do is I don't bullshit. Right, whether or not people enjoy that or not. Now, my intention for this channel was never to clickbait. Was always to tell the truth. No matter what, and was always to you've got channels that, and that there are lots of other channels out there who are small, but they deserve to be bigger, right? I wanted to do things in a different way. I wanted to do things in a way that wasn't sensational. I wanted to do things in a way that wasn't me just jumping up and down and screaming. No, it's not my way. And I wanted to create a channel where if somebody comes on with an opinion, and I would read out your comments. This for me is not just about me, right? This is about a place that's about truth. This is a place about, I really want you guys to have your views, it's where you don't have to super chat, where you don't have to, pay me for you to air your views. So I think pretty much that's why, mate. iSpeed says, what's your name? The name JB, my friend. That's all you're going to get out of me tonight. The name JB. Liverpool is better. No hate though. Look, Lauren. I mean, that's a tough sell, Lauren. Look, I respect the opinion. I don't I'm not going to call out your opinion. I think, you know, as long as their opinions are based in respect and not rude, I've got no problem in that at all, Lauren. And, you know, I think, Lauren, that's a hard sell right now. But look, you know, Liverpool have been fantastic. Nicky Rucci says Wolves, Forest, Burnley will be going down. I Show Speed says we're playing Bournemouth next. You know, look, if we can beat Bournemouth, you know, but again, Bournemouth have not been great. But look, this is what I'm saying, right? If we've got any hope, because now people are saying that we're in the top 6, which we are. If we want to stay there and we want to progress, we need these players to step up. We need these players. There is no excuse now. If you support us, if the supporters on here who think that we can get a top 4, who think that we can win a league, because there are some of you that do, and I'm not going to dispute your opinions on that, because if that's how you feel, I'm happy. I'm happy for us to have that debate. If I'm going to be wrong, and I don't mind being wrong, is that if you guys want us to finish top 4, we need to beat Bournemouth, we need to beat Villa, no excuses. We need to beat the Magpies at home. If we do that, and bearing in mind, then when we come back after Christmas, we've got Arsenal and City. For us to have any hope of finishing in that top 4 and being in that top 4 race, we need to be winning these games. No draws, because now we don't have the luxury, because of the results that we've had, we now don't have anything to back us up. If we'd have won the last couple of games, we would have the points in the bank. We would have that points in the bank, and we may be able to draw against Villa, and we may be able to get a draw at home to the Magpies. But because we fucked those up, we have to win those games. We do not have an excuse. So we have to win those games. Roberta says hi. Icebeat says hi. Up the Villa, says Stephen. Up the Villa indeed, my friend. It was 4-1 against Wolves. United need to get rid of all the old players and rebuild, not patch or stopgap. And Bruno is. I am actually going to put a poll actually in the chat. Really simple one. Really simple one. Are we back? That I've just put a poll up because, and it's not to call anybody out, right? Because look, if you think we're back, right, and we're back, fantastic. Just the same as I am hammering in just about, I could be right. So it's a case of, you know, it doesn't matter who's right on this one, right? It just means that if we are back, you're right, and it means that we can finish in the top 4. We cannot. This season, I don't think people understand we cannot finish outside of the European places this season. And Nikaruta said, don't forget to like, favourite and subscribe. Exactly. Caleb says, I think if Bruno wasn't in the team, we would have a bigger problem. And Caleb, mate, I think you've got a point. You know, I cannot stand Fernandez. I cannot stand him. I don't care tonight if he was the star man. I couldn't give a toss. But I fully accept that this team, without him in it, capitulates. Thanks, Liam. Truth facts about arguing to disagree. It's a football that we cherish. Exactly, says hi. Liam says, I think I'm a similar age and I'm so tired of sensationalism YouTubers use our club for. Exactly, Liam. I mean, look, I can't do, Liam, I can't do that that crap. I will never do that. That's the one thing on here that I will never do. You know, I remember the things I say. You know, when I'm wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong. I don't always get it right, but I also remember the things that I say, which I think is important. Bruno is a crybaby. He's not right. Michael says, hi, hello, my friend. Marsinger says, United not finishing in the top four. Look, I'll give you my opinion on that as well. I still think we finish somewhere between 8th and 10th. I have remained that. I've remained that all season. So far, I've remained that all season. If we'd have beaten the Toffees at home, if we'd have beaten West Ham at home, we beat Palace, and if we'd have won this tonight as well, I would be saying, look, my opinion is slightly switching here between 8th and 10th to maybe 6th and 8th. The more that we win, the better that we look, the longer that we progress. Even I have to change my stance. But we've not been playing good football. Look, tonight papers the cracks. Look, enjoy it tonight. Enjoy the win tonight. But let's not pretend this Wolves team were good tonight. We didn't outplay an Arsenal tonight. We didn't outplay a Crystal Palace. We played a Wolves team who were on their arse. 2 points. And as somebody said here, they've not scored in 50 hours. They scored against us. We can't even keep a clean sheet. I mean, it is just talk about paper in the cracks. Sam says, United, until United get hard, steely midfielder who will work, tackle, pass, hold, be the engine. We don't have that. I think that's a fantastic point. Totally agree. We need to win those games. We should have not sold McT. We are shit. Villa battered them exactly 4-1. Harry says hello. We have to finish out games, says Michael. I do agree. Why do United play 5 at the back? Because that's Amarin's style. If you listen to Amarin, right, Amarin did a presser, right? And basically what he said was he plays more defensive because he thinks having more defensive players means you can be more offensive. So what he means by that is that when you win the ball back with defensive players, you win the ball back much more. You can recycle the ball more, and then you can progress forward. But the problem with that is our pivot is shit, and we've got nobody up front. We said that. Who do you think's getting relegated? Hawaii Madagascar says, "Do you like to eat ass?" I'm not a massive fan of Donkey, to be fair, but yes, we won. Yes, we won the game. Look, be happy to look. I'm not saying for you guys not to celebrate. I think you've got to. It's for you guys on here to be happy. It is for you guys on here to celebrate a win tonight and be just like, wow, we won, fantastic game, right? But I'm not going to come on here and bullshit you. Like that. My job is to be fair. My job is to not give you the bullshit. Like my job is not to spin you crap. My role on here is to give you a balanced view. And look, and if you don't agree with it, that's fine. And please get in your opinions. If you think we're back, if you think tonight means a turnaround, you still Amarin in, Amarin out. Is Fernandez now the best player in the world? And Nick Caruso says, I believe United are now back when we win 10 games in a row, not when Curly Sue finally gets his long-awaited haircut of 5 games won. I agree with you. Tam says, I've been honest, United my team, but I watched my granny knitting. I watched Man United, as I know she would knit me a jumper. Watching United, I'll be jumping out the window into an ambulance. Villa 9 wins from 10. Look, and I agree with you. Look, Villa, man. I am not sleeping on Villa. Nobody should sleep on Villa. Like Villa, look, people don't know what Villa were. Villa have won the European Cup. Like Villa are one of those teams that's a sleeping giant. Look, it's about time that Villa are back. Dino says 3 points are still 3 points. The gallows still loom for Amin. And look, Dino, you're right. 3 points at the end of the day is 3 points. I am not, Dino. You know me, my friend. I am not. You guys. 3 points is important. If I even thought for a second that this team could come together, I still can't stand these players. I still want these players to go. But if these players can get to the end of the season and get us into top 4, a top 6, thank you very much, and piss off. Like, I think what gets missed here is these players are doing their job. This is their job. Like, they're not doing it for free. They're not doing it because they love this club. They're doing it for free. I will go over, for those of you who have not heard, what Chris Wheeler said this week about players, and we'll go over that as well. I don't think Wolves is an achievement of any sort. And Harry, mate, I agree with you completely. You're the person with the long hair, mate. I wish I was, mate. My hair is on its way out, my friend. If we finish mid-table this season, we'll be lucky. We don't have a cohesive team pattern. It's a kick and a hope for us at the moment. Stop fooling ourselves. Let's be fair, JB. The female United team could have beaten Wolves 2-0. I mean, this sincerely, why do you dislike Bruno? He is our most effective player. Would you feel differently if he wasn't the captain? And look, right, I don't disagree with that statement, Liam. My main problem, and you're pretty much right. My problem with Fernandes is this, right? If Bruno Fernandes was just another player on the pitch, and I know we have our different views, Liam, on him, but I think he's been petulant. I will still maintain my position on this, is that Bruno is a stat padder. He's not been good for a year. He barely tackles. He throws his hands in the air. He is obstinate. I find him very petulant. I can forgive that this season as a number 8 because look, he's playing out of position. But Liam, all I'm going to say to you is this, right? Tell me this season, right? He got 2 assists against Crystal Palace for no reason. He scored a penalty tonight, and he did an assist. Fine, right? But other than that, he's presided as a captain over a shit show this season. He presided as a captain over a shit show last season. We got to a Europa Cup final against Spurs. Where was he? He stat padded the whole season, and when we need him for the big games, when we needed him to step up in that game, where was Bruno Fernandes? I don't think he's been particularly good all season. I think he's cost us at least 3 or 4 goals this season, and I can forgive all that. I can forgive all that when he plays in the 8. And look, I can forgive it all if he only did the simple things right. If he tackled, if he just put in a shift, he keeps, he puts in a shift, but he runs around like a chicken, right? And you're right. If he wasn't our captain, I could probably forgive it more. But he is our captain, and he's not a captain. And I fully respect you, Liam, and I fully respect exactly what you're saying. And I you can observe your right to like Bruno Fernandes, but for all the things that I've just said, and the fact that he is a captain, he is the captain. And he's not a captain. He is the worst captain that I've seen. So for me, unfortunately for him, he is a captain. If he was just another player, maybe I wouldn't focus in so much. But he is the captain of this side. And look, tonight he played well. Tonight he played well. He played well against an abjectly awful Wolves side. So those are my reasons. And Liam, don't have to agree with me, friend, but United have gotten on yes. He doesn't tackle. Yeah, I think we were poor on the ball in our own half. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Celebrity one win every now and then. We need consistency. Not at this rate. They must when people say, well, shit don't stink. Well, that's United entire philosophy. At least Goldbridge celebrates a win no matter the state of the club. Look, Kevin, mate. Kevin. Look, Kevin, mate, that's your opinion. Kevin, if you want clickbait shit, go to Goldbridge. If you want somebody who's going to sit there going, yes, we won 4-1. Fucking hell, we're back. What a win. Fucking hell, Bruno Fernandes is back. Fuck me, what a game. Oh, what a win. Oh, I'm so happy. Fucking hell, we won. Yeah, come on, fucking hell, we won. Whoa. But last week, I was calling these players shit. Last week, I was saying that the coach needs to go. The previous week, I was saying that these players are fucking worthless. I am consistent. I'm consistent, Kevin. I can't be a hypocrite. I will never be a hypocrite. And look, you guys celebrate a win, Kevin. If you want to lick his ass, Kevin, feel free to go to his channel, stick your tongue up his ass. All good, my friend. I've got no issue with that at all. But I do not prescribe. I will never prescribe to this, mate. I live in a world where what I see and what I predict, right? I can't just live today. Because if you live today, the problem that we've got is this flip-flop crap. If we live for this result today and now, we are the best team, right? We have won today, but it doesn't tell you the whole story. It doesn't tell you how we've played. And Kevin, look, if you want to live in a world where today is today and we won 4-0 and you're happy, mate, you be happy. I'm not. I don't accept these low IQ. I don't accept these wasters who have been stealing a living because they've won 4-1 to a Wolves team who've got 2 points all season. No. No, they're on their ridiculous money and still do a shit job. They don't like the club. The only reason they don't like the club, the only reason people come to United is because they want money. 3 or 4 years. Go off and do whatever they want because they do you like. No. Thing Bruno does run back, and the only player who has desire to do so, but I agree he isn't commanding midfielder. 31 is going to be. And Liam, mate, Liam, I think that's a very valid opinion. Baller Edit says hi, hello, my friend. Hit the like button. Bruno is not captain material. Agreed, but also United's best player. Look, look, Bruno Fernandes, as much as he frustrates me, I would you could probably argue that he's our best player. Look, I can't look. You can pick a player from this bunch and tell me that Mason Mount's our best player. You can tell me that Mbeumo's our best player. You can tell me all these things about these players. Right now, I can't stand them. I can't stand these players. One game and we're all licking each other's asses. One game and we're all like, oh, well, we're sixth in the league and we're back. Like it just perplexes me. How the hell is he nominated for Player of the Month for November? Bizarre. JB, we don't disagree. I think Fernandes is poor captain. He is a maverick player, not a captain. I rate him, just not a captain. And look, Liam, again, my friend, you always come on here with really balanced views, my friend. And look, I think you're right. I think if I have to be honest and I have to be true because I don't lie. I think you're probably right. I think if Bruno wasn't, and I think you've summed it up well, Liam. I think if Bruno wasn't the captain and was that maverick player, which he is, I think I would be more tolerant because he is a maverick, right? You could be more tolerant of that play, but I think Liam, the moment you become a captain, mate, is when you have to be scrutinised the most, I think. Scrolesy, Cantona, Berbatov, no running but commanding the ball. Bruno has been lazy, complacent, and more likely to get carded from tantrums as opposed to getting carded from tantrums, as opposed to getting goals and assists. Typical Trafford fan. The badge says one thing and the colour of the shirt shows his local team. Huh? What the fuck are you talking about? This is a United shirt, you fucking moron. What the fuck are you talking about? You fucking idiot. This is a 2002 United top. What the fuck are you talking about? You absolute idiot. This is a United top. So basically, you're telling me. So you're basically telling me that I'm not a United fan, right? When you don't even fucking know when you see a shirt. This is the 2002 reversible gold and white shirt. You just mugged yourself off. You've absolutely just fucking mugged yourself off. What a twat. Fernandez is the problem. Sorry, his vision opens up the field. For the forwards, we would have been relegated. He literally changed the trajectory of the season when he arrived. Look, that's your opinion, right? I get it. That's your opinion. We would not have been relegated without Bruno Fernandes last season. I do not accept that. So look, I respect that opinion, and I'm not coming back on that opinion, okay? But I do have to give my view on that. Under Bruno Fernandes, have we won a league? Have we been consistent in the Champions League? Have we won a league? How many cups has he won? Has he won 10? Has he won 2? Has he won 3? How has Bruno Fernandes changed this club in any way, shape, or form? What's he done? Have we won a league suddenly? Have you won the Champions League? If you're talking about winning an FA Cup, if you're talking about winning a Carabao Cup, your standards must be really, really low. We would not have gone down without him. I disagree, but look, when you're talking about, look, that's your view. I'm not calling you out on your view, but I'm just saying this, like, what has Fernandes done? Well, because Fernandes has scored a goal tonight, was suddenly, where was this player in probably one of our biggest games in the last 2 or 3 seasons against Spurs in the final as the captain? What did he change? Nothing. Has he won a league? No. Champions League? No. Has he helped us consistently qualify for the Champions League? No. Just Alex, explain it to me. Explain it to me how Bruno Fernandes has changed what we could have been. So look, so what you're saying here, and I'm just going to respond back to that, is this. We have not won the league and we've been shit. We have sacked, under Fernandes, we've sacked Ollie, Ranić, Ten Hag. Was he here for Jose? I don't think he was he? So Ollie, Ranić, Ten Hag, Amorim, potentially. And we've sacked managers, we've bought players. We've sacked managers, we've bought players. We've sacked managers, we've bought players. Bruno Fernandes has presided over that. You tell me what Bruno's actually done. Old Bridge gets views from his over dramatic reactions and childish tantrums. Guide dogs are better behaved than that muppet. Liam says, mate, with respect, these are vastly different players and styles. Who would you replace Fernandes with? You don't replace Fernandes. You don't replace that position. You don't. You get a different player. So when he goes, you don't replace him like for like. You don't, because right now Bruno is the entire team. You create a team, right? Because if you look at the most successful teams that win leagues, okay, City, you can argue Haaland is pivotal, but you've got Rodri, you've got Haaland, Foden, John Stones, like the goalkeepers. Like you don't build a team. Those teams who are a one-man team, they don't win anything. You know, when we were at our pomp, we didn't replace Beckham with another Beckham. When we were winning things, you had a whole team: Keane, Giggs, Beckham, Scholes, Cole, York, Solskjaer, Schmeichel, Neville, Johnson, you know, Pallister, Bruce, Irwin, Parker, Cristiano, Rooney. You don't have a single player. You have a team. I would not replace him. I would go and get a team. Bruno is the weak link for the team style as he plays. Can't work with his style. He's a good player, but others around him support him. The clickbait stand, says Harry. What is that shirt? This is the 2002 United reversible gold shirt. This is an actual shirt, by the way, that they and it's a reversible shirt. Alex says, how quickly you forget how you gave United since how quickly you forgot how much he gave to United since his arrival. Portuguese disagree with you. World-class coaches disagree with you. I don't think you are qualified as they are. But you're not. But you've told me that he's literally changed this club. I'm not saying that Bruno Fernandes hasn't been a world-class player. I don't think he has been a world-class player, by the way. I don't deny that Bruno has been a good player. He's not a world-class player. I don't think he is. On his day, Bruno is a fantastic player. On his day, he's not a world-class player. You know, so because I've watched this club and I've seen players, I've seen every legend pretty much at this club since 1988, right? I think I'm more than qualified in terms of players that play in this that have played for this club to have a valid opinion about what I think about Bruno Fernandes. Am I right? No, it's just my opinion. You have yours. Look, Bruno Fernandes doesn't play for fucking free. Bruno Fernandes gives to this club because he gets paid to do it. Bruno Fernandes doesn't do this out of the goodness of his heart. Bruno Fernandes gets paid an exorbitant amount of money, and Bruno Fernandes, when he first came to this club, breath of fresh air. I've got no problem in saying that Bruno Fernandes at one point was unplayable. Fantastic player. No issue from me. Fantastic player. When he's playing in that 10 role, is some of his goals, his passing. I'm not disputing that Bruno is a fantastic player. In my view, he's not a world-class player. He shows glimpses of a world-class player, but he's not. I've seen legends and players play for this club. Bruno is nowhere near any of those players. Doesn't mean that Bruno is not a fantastic player. I think he shows glimpses of being world-class. And there was a period of time that he was one of the Premier League's best players, and certainly our best player. The last 2 years, he has not been on it. You can argue probably a year, but Bruno Fernandes is not the same Bruno. He's 31 years old. Players get older. Players have to adapt their game, and I think it's his time to go. And look, if you love him, I've got no problem in that. There's not look. You think he's a world-class player? Fine. I'm qualified to talk about him because I've seen what world-class looks like in this club. And you may say, I don't give a shit about that. That's up to you. Amarin out, Bruno out, Short out, Casemiro out. All of this rubbing off on the bad signings. Crazy to me these players are still part of this team and people would defend them is insane to me. Gas says he isn't captain material, but without him, where would we have been? Further down the table. Look, I'll tell you why I disagree with that. I'll tell you why, right? Because I'll give you my opinion in an alternative reality, right? Is this: if Bruno Fernandes hadn't have been here, we would have signed another player, right? Bruno Fernandes over the last couple of years, more so the last two years, he's been petulant. He's been allowed to basically control this team. Everything goes through him. He's been a one-man team. What happened? What happens? When you take that player out and you have to become a team. We haven't been a team. We've been the Bruno Fernandes show. So all I'm saying here is that we don't know what we could have been if we'd have got a different player. Look, I'm not taking anything away from his career here. He should be celebrated as one of our best players. He's not a legend. You know, you guys can think of him as a legend. Fernandes is not a legend in this club. Fernandes is probably the best of the rest, but he's not. Griffith says, what year you plonker? 2002. One game against the bottom of the league and we're back. Disillusional, thinking that these are the games I would expect Bruno to perform. He stat pads all the lower teams. It's reversible top, which I have as well. Exactly, it is. Come on, mate, no swearing. I used to be a Bolton fan. Mate, we were Bolton FC. We have been, mate. Bolton, I used to love you guys. Absolutely love you guys. Davis, a catcher. Davis, Nolan, a catcher. Jaskalainen in goal as well. Fantastic team. Bruno is trash. Salah is miles better than Bruno, yet he got dropped. Why isn't Bruno getting dropped? Is Bruno better than Salah? Please explain to me. He sees and creates chances that almost no one else, if not the league, he would be. We would be screwed without him. I disagree because, you know, look, if Bruno Fernandes wasn't here, look, Bruno Fernandes is not the saviour in this club. Bruno Fernandes is not the saviour of this club. Now, I say again, what have we won with Bruno Fernandes? What have we won with him? What have we won with him? We've won an FA Cup, Carabao Cup. Has Fernandes won a league? Has Fernandes fired us to a title? No. Has he fired us consistently to the Champions League? Look, Alex, I'm not disputing, and I think what you were saying is you're in passionate defence of a player that you like, and I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong, because guess what? You're not wrong. If that's the player that you love and support, that's fine. You haven't forgotten what he's given to the club. We simply pointed out he isn't captain material and his list of honours is in single digits. We are miles away from a title and cup. He cannot do it alone. I've supported the club since 1972. Look, if you support the club since 1972, right, and look, and you've seen some of our best players, right? You must have seen some of our best players, right? And look, I fully respect what you're saying. I'm not trying to call your opinion out, right? And you've seen Roy Keane, you've seen Giggs, Kanchelskis, Paul Parker, Dennis Irwin, Pallister, Robson, Norman Whiteside. You know, you've seen McGrath, you've seen, you know, and I'm not saying that they were the best players in the entire world. You've seen Beckham, you've seen, you know, Giggs, York, Cole, you know, and yet I find that really, really difficult to understand in my head that you think Bruno Fernandes has changed this club in any way, shape, or form. We've got worse. As a club, we've got worse. As a club, in the last 4 years, we've got worse. And I'm not suggesting that is all on him, by the way. We have got worse. And and Bruno Fernandes, whether you like it or not, whether he does, he has captained and he has presided over the worst Premier League team that we've ever had. You can't blame him for not winning the league. Leagues are not won because of one player. That's true. But what Alex is trying to say here, and if you read back, is that Bruno Fernandes has changed this club, right? So what Alex was saying is that according to Alex, is that Bruno Fernandes has changed this club, okay? What has he done differently to what we hadn't done previously? Mourinho won a Europa League. We finished second with Ollie. We got into a Champions League. He's won a Carabao Cup. He's won an FA Cup. If Fernandes was this if he was this transformative player, all I'm saying is, what has he done? He has presided, and look, it is not on him. I'm not suggesting that. But then when I'm being told that this is a player who's been so transformative, we've got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm not suggesting that it's all him. But all I'm saying is, it's a bit hypocritical when I'm being told that Bruno Fernandes is this transformative player, and we've actually got worse and worse and worse, and we've not won a league. You know, what's Bruno? Look, Bruno Fernandes had an opportunity to inspire us to get into the Champions League. He could have. Let me give you an example, right? And you can say, oh, one player can't. Bruno Fernandes had a chance in the Europa League final against Spurs to grab the game by the scruff of the neck as a captain and drag us through. And you might say, well, that's not fair because one player can't change a game. Turin, 99. United were getting beat, right? Bearing in mind, we played a Juventus side who had Conte in it, Inzaghi in it, had so many of these amazing players, right? And we were away at Juventus. Roy Keane grabbed that game by the scruff of the neck, and he pulled us through it. Yes, players scored, but Roy Keane, one player, and we're not talking about fucking like Leeds away. We're talking about prime Juventus. Turin, and Roy Keane goes into Juventus's own backyard and pulls us through the game. That is what captains do. That is what Bruno Fernandes doesn't do, and that is the difference between being a leader and a winner from being petulant. Ball loses the bro like an ape, cries as hell, and then flicking time and causes irrelevant and bad outweighs the good. Just look at the stats. And again, look, I love it. I love when people quote Bruno's stats. Bruno is a stat padder. I'm sorry, he is. We should have sacked Bruno and stopped building the team around him. Andrew Morehouse says, hi, hello, my friend. I personally believe sacking Ollie was a massive mistake. With hindsight, possibly. Ollie, the problem with Ollie is I don't know if Ollie could have turned it around. He wasn't the player, didn't want to play for him anymore. I think Harry is a difficult one to call for me. How many balls he loses, he plays, and how places himself as captain. Singer says you're speaking facts. Finny Boy says 4-1. I get players have a lot of influence on the management, but isn't the board in charge of the management? Like Harry, mate. At this club, nothing surprises me, my friend. We need a captain that leads and not a stat padder, says Steve. Are you a racist? Why am I a racist? Because I don't like Bruno Fernandes. I can't stand Luke Shaw. Can't stand Shaw. Luke Shaw is as English as they get. Luke Shaw is the epitome of an English player who wants to play for England. I can't stand Luke Shaw. The United Devil, like you keep it clean, I swear, on this program, as my granny will ban me and I won't be a Bruno crybaby. Look, mate, sometimes, mate, it's passionate on here, my friend. I can't help the language, my friend. Bruno has done well for United, or even the best player at United for a long time, and a try cannot make. Bruno is a world-class player who performs for United and Portugal. Look, again, if that's your opinion, I'm not going to disagree with you. If you like Bruno Fernandes and you think he's world-class, I've got no dog in that fight, mate. I've got no dog. I'm not going to disagree with you. I disagree. I don't think he is. I don't think he performs consistently enough. And look, he performs for Portugal because he loves Portugal. I'm not saying he doesn't love us, but he's not consistent. He hasn't presided over that failure. This is the board and managers. The recruitment made, the purchases of the players around him. If they bought decently around him, it would be a different story. Alex, you're now backtracking on what you said. So Alex, you're backtracking now, aren't you? Look, you're backtracking. What you said was that Bruno Fernandes has changed the club. That's what you basically were saying, that Bruno Fernandes has basically changed this club, right? Again, that's your opinion. I then said, what has he changed? But now you're flipping it back around and saying, well, actually, what has the club done, right? Make up your mind. Make up your mind. If Bruno Fernandes is this world-class, amazing player, but you're saying that he's changed this club and he's changed us, and I'm saying to you he's not. But now it's, look, I agree with you. I agree with you. I absolutely agree that it is the board. Don't blame the managers here. So basically, what you're saying, it is everybody else's fault, not Bruno Fernandes, for the performances that he's put in over the last 18 months. I agree with you. I agree with you about the board. I agree with you about this club has failed to buy the correct players. Completely agree with you on that one. But Bruno Fernandes has to take some blame over the last couple of years. It's true he could have got a lot of money if he went to Saudi. Bruno should have left in the summer and collected a paycheck. I do agree. United need to get rid of the old players and stop buying old players. Nicky says, don't forget to submit your vote in the poll. Question is, are we back? Exactly. First half was like a Sunday league. Terrible. Gone. Agree. Harry says, see you later. Yes. Nolan speed. Yeah. He's not commanding player in the team, unlike others before him. He's just a player. You are a true local United fan. Teddy, mate, boring, mate. Teddy, you're boring. Do you know how many times I've heard that tonight, mate? Absolute boring, mate. Absolute boring. Absolute boring, mate. Bruno has done well at United for a long time. He is world class. Gideon, mate, again, the Bruno debate will go on and on and on, right? I've seen world-class players play at this club. Bruno Fernandes is not world-class. But again, that's my view. Kevin says, if United had bought a proper striker to suit Bruno, we'd be far. Yeah, I get. Look, I don't know, Kevin. I don't know, because the problem is, if you remember back to last season, Bruno Fernandes got the ball and just basically kept the ball to himself, refused to put the ball through to the striker, and basically just kept taking shots. You could argue, if Bruno Fernandes felt he had a better striker, then maybe he would have put the ball through more. But that's not for Bruno to decide. Kevin, I do think you make a good point. But we'll never know. Our catcher, yeah, legend. This is the coach's fault, the club's fault, not the player. Dunking on our best player for the season after season is pointless. The club got rid of David and brought in Anana. And again, look, I'm look, it's not all of one player's fault. I'm not singling him out. He has been one of our better players over the last 7 years or so, right? But I don't agree he's as transformative as you're making out he is. I just don't. If a player has played well, we should give good feedback. Look, we will get into the match. I'm just going to go through your chats. And look, I agree with you, Nicky. If a player's played well, it doesn't matter who they play. If they played well, they play well, right? So look, I'm going to go through the game as well, and I'll go through the player ratings as well. It's going to be an interesting one. Himself said, "Thank you for saying we are not back. They were worse than Grimsby tonight, and we tried to give them the game for 20 minutes at the end of the first half. We need to get rid of the old players. As we do, a tree cannot make a forest." It's true. It's true. But Gideon, like, my only thing is this, right? Is that if somebody's argument is this, Bruno Fernandes is a transformative player, and somebody made a statement on here. Alex made the statement that Bruno Fernandes is being the most transformative player that we've had, and have changed where this club has gone. Right? That was the statement, right? Insinuating that Bruno Fernandes has completely changed this club, but then revert back and say, well, actually, no, he can't do it all by himself. But then in the first comment, it was Fernandes has changed this club completely. The both don't correspond. Like, you can't in one breath say Bruno Fernandes, without him, we'd be X, Y, and Z, and Fernandes has changed this team completely and we'd be a different team without him, insinuating that he's doing it all by himself. And then in the next breath, because it doesn't suit what you're trying to say, that actually is not his fault. So it's almost like people go, Fernandes has changed his club on his own, right? But then the fallback and safety position is, well, actually, he can't be a one-man team. Which is it? Because you can't have both. You can't have both. You can't have Bruno Fernandes has changed this team and he pushes us and we've been a better team with him in, and it's because of him that we've changed into this fantastic club. But then your fallback position can't be, well, he's only one man and he can't change the club. But you basically just said, so look, you can't have both. You can't have both because you just can't have both. You either need to be Bruno Fernandes is being a fantastic player, but he can't do it all by himself, but he has helped the club. Or you say Bruno single-handedly has changed the club. You can't have both. You can't have both. And this club has got worse, absolutely, but that's the club's fault. I never said he changed the club. Well, you sort of did. I said he changed the club's direction with his arrival. He went on a great one and finished second. Hello, United did good today. Yes, they did. Bruno Fernandes is just a Poundland version of Tielemans. If they want some sycamore saplings, then they get them from the garden where I'm sick of them growing all the time, but sad sycamore tree cut down as well. Good player, can make a big difference to the team. Look at Ronaldo when he came back. He still scored more goals than the rest of the squad, and we were absolute trash. JB, we need to look at this club in context. Who have we lost in the last 5 years? Greenwood, Pogba, Ronaldo, Cavani, Matic, Rashford, McTominay, and Varane. Liam, agreed. Look, mate, agreed. You know, it's not just Bruno Fernandes. You know, and Liam, you're right. You know, the only thing I'm going to say on those players, and you may not agree with me, Greenwood, we don't know. Like Greenwood, like people can talk about him, but we don't know because he wasn't at the club long enough for many seasons to have that impact. Pogba was inconsistent, you know, fantastic player. On his day, unplayable. On his day, unplayable. Inconsistent. Cristiano came back, what a player. But again, at what, 35 years old, you know, again, fantastic player, but we were still crap. Cavani, I think he had 20 injuries whilst he was here. Like, Cavani was out. And again, I'm not disputing these players. Cavani was injured. Matic was one of those players that looked like he was finished and then come back. So again, Rashford, I think there's a debate with Rashford. You know, he had a couple of good seasons, inconsistent. McTominay for me is probably the one. You know, I think, look, you can sort of debate those out, like Greenwood, Pogba, Ronaldo, Cavani, Matic, etc. But McTominay for me is the one that I've got no sort of, not comeback, but I've got no debate point on it because McTominay was a fantastic player. Bruno is the mainstay and still puts up numbers. He does. Keane did and then got booked and could have cost us the final. Keane was incredibly petulant. How many times was he sent off? I love Keane, but I love Keane by the way, absolute legend. Look, a fair point, but if we look, which is, and again, a fair point, but if Roy Keane hadn't have done that, we wouldn't have got to the final. So look, all I'm saying there is, look, and while that's a valid point, if Roy Keane hadn't have done that, and he got the card, we wouldn't have even made it through to the final. Good win, but mainly just wish Mainly would play more, says Jack. The problem about Bruno is he's not consistent. I never... Okay. Have to defend when being misrepresented. No, listen, I'm not. I never said that. You misunderstood me from the beginning. Stop putting words into my mouth. I never said he changed the club for the better. I meant he changed the club's season on arrival. Look, you said, and again, look, if you go back up, right, and you basically said that Bruno came into the club and changed the what was the word you used? The trajectory of this club. Those were your words and not mine, right? To me, that means that what you're saying is Bruno Fernandes came into this club and basically we were going to go in one direction and he changed to another direction, right? All I'm saying is what was that? Because we didn't win titles. You know, I'm not disputing here that Bruno Fernandes has been a phenomenal player. I don't accept that he's a world-class player. Like Liam says, he puts in the numbers. He always has. But the last 18 months or so, in my view, he's been getting progressively worse. And what I mean by progressively worse is he's really petulant. I find him infuriating. And again, he's been switched to an 8, and that's not his fault. I'm not blaming him for that number 8, but he's not a captain. Now, I'm not disputing the previous 5 years, but I also don't accept that we would have got relegated if he wasn't here, and I don't accept that Bruno Fernandes has changed this club. I just don't, because who's to say we wouldn't have got a different player in, and they would have changed the club? Look, I've seen legends come and go, and Alex, you've clearly seen them as well. Like, we've all seen them, right? I do agree that Bruno Fernandes has had a massive impact in this team, and he will continue to do so. I'm not disputing that he's a nice guy. I'm not disputing that he has won us games. I'm not disputing that in the past he's been a phenomenal player. I would agree with you on that. You're not going to hear anything from me to say that no. I do not agree that he's a world-class player. I do not agree he's a legend in this club, and I'm not saying that you're saying that. I also agree that you need more than Bruno Fernandes to win things at this club, and it is a shame. It is a shame that Bruno Fernandes was never put into a side that could win the league. I don't disagree with that either. All I'm saying now on the Bruno Fernandes debate as of today, Bruno Fernandes for me is not a captain. Okay, and the only way we don't make him the captain is if he leaves. So my only debate for that, and I do apologise because I don't like to misrepresent people, Alex. So I apologise. Is that all I'm saying to you is I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying, other than I don't agree, and I'm not saying that this is you. I don't think that he's a world-class player. It's a shame that he's never won a league here, but all I'm saying right here and now, I think it's his time to go. He's not a captain, and the only way, look, if we could remove him and we could free him of that burden of being a captain, and if we could put him into the 10 position and he was just another player, let him go and do his thing, fantastic. But we made him the captain, and then sadly now the only way we remove that from him is if he leaves. So look, I'm not disputing here that Fernandes, and again, Alex, I apologise if I've misrepresented the things that you're saying, right? But just for me, I think that look, it comes a time where players like have to go, and I think it's his time to go. Yes, Pete. I do. I think we beat Bournemouth because of their high line. You might get 7th. Bruno is selfish and couldn't let his teammates take the free kick. He also loses possession, inconsistent, and disagree. Liam says, Liam, mate, I don't, Liam, mate, I'm not getting in. We don't need to get into that, my friend. Bruno was a bit sus to me today. That's a mad thing. Calling that Kino for getting booked. He has to have that dog in him. I agree. Bruno seems confused to me. Kino brought us back from the dead. Exactly, Liam. What do you mean? Please elaborate on Bruno being a bit sus. We're on the same amount of points, same amount of wins, draws, losses. Disgrace from us. Fair play, United. Trajectory of the club in the season when he arrived looked where we were and where we finished that season. That's what I meant. He's not changed the club for the better. Alex, and again, I apologise if I've misrepresented you. Chevy 400 says, without Bruno would be relegated even though he's shy, including his recent form. I disagree. The problem is that Fernandes doesn't have better players than him in the team. Your strikers right now is Xerxes, Time to get players to help Bruno. When is Shesko back? I think Shesko should be back in the next 2 weeks. Liam says, did you see the free kick he got against Palace? You're going down. I love it. I love it. So look, let's get on to the game. We'll quickly go through the game, guys. And again, give me your opinions on the game. So look, the first thing to say is that United winning 4-1 is nothing to be sniffed at. We don't do it that much. We've got some goals. So look, the first thing to say that pleases me tonight, and I'm not talking about the players, the first thing that pleases me tonight is we got a win for us fans. We've got a win for the fans. Whether or not I think that these players did it for you guys and for us, you can dispute that, right? Now, second of all, we actually did what we were supposed to do tonight. The players actually did. They nearly made a pig's ear of it, but they actually went and did what they were supposed to do tonight. They actually went and did their jobs. And look, I'm not giving them credit tonight for doing their fucking jobs. This is Wolves. And again, I will reiterate the fact that Wolves have got 2 points. We get the accolade that we were the first team that they scored against in 50 hours, and they posed a problem. They posed a problem in the first half. First half we didn't play well. Look, we look at our chances. We cannot dispute that. We should have scored more goals. I thought we started off brightly. This was a team that has managed to draw only 2 games in the entire season. Exactly. So look, let's be having this straight from the off, right? We were playing a team that had 2 points, and I've been saying this since the game ended and started, right? I didn't celebrate the goals because I think these players are arseholes. I'm not going to go back on that. I'll tell you for why. I will tell you for why. I do have my notes. I think, yeah, I do. And I'll go into that. First half, I thought the first half we looked bright. I thought Wolves' defending was absolutely atrocious. They looked like a championship team. We should win via the bottom side of the league. I cannot believe people are suggesting we're back because we beat the bottom side. We're slowly improving this season with new signings. And look, Alex, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you completely. I think, I don't want to get too carried away with bagging on these players, right? But I also want to support. I also want to be as positive as I can, right? But I find it so difficult. And again, with what these players said this week, or what's been alluded with what these players have said this week, I find it very, very difficult to support these players who have let us down time and time again. Now, Amarin as well, look, I am Amarin in. I've been keeping the faith, but look, he's been testing me. The last couple of games, he's been testing me. Today, I think that team that he put out today was weak. And what I mean by that is, again, some of these players have thrown him under the bus this week, and he still plays them. It's not good. We would be slaughtered in the championship. We can't score, says Wookie. So look, yeah, Wolves to me didn't really offer much. Wolves, I admire the fact they didn't play a low block. I don't think they could play a low block, even if they tried. Wolves weren't particularly good to that. And look, their fans are going through their own stuff. I admire their fans. Empty ground. They didn't give a shit that their players were playing. They just did what they thought was right. I think Wolves put up a good fight. So we had a couple of chances. Cunha, I think, had the most chances. Ahmad, I thought, had a whale of a time. A Delo, I thought, again had a one-on-one. He should have scored, but outside of the chances that we had, as Liam says there, we were poor in the first half. I agree, it was difficult to celebrate any other goals. The only one I did want to celebrate was Mount's, but I couldn't for the. And look, Liam, I agree with you, mate. I think I like Mason Mount. I just wish he'd stay fit more. I really, really do. I want a redemption story for Mason Mount, because I just want him. I just want Mason Mount to do well. A young lad doesn't deserve to be injured, and I just, I actually saw what Mason Mount was about. And look, I can't be a like a I can't be a hypocrite myself and basically say, look, that Wolves team was crap. But Mason Mount, I do like Mount. Would be very difficult to get out of the Championship. Ref was good today. So look, so you're right. So look, I just thought as a team, first half, that pivot was awful. Bruno, Fernandes, Casemiro. I thought Casemiro looked off of it today. There were times, if only Wolves had better players in the midfield, they would have run through. Bruno, I thought, was really sloppy. As soon as the second half happened, when he had that space, Bruno Fernandes had a fucking field day. But then we scored a goal. Some really good work by Cunha. Fernandes fell on his arse. Managed to kick the ball. It went under the goalkeeper. The Wolves keeper should have done better with that. Like the first goal for me summed it up. It was literally like watching a comedy of like errors, but he scored a goal. And then Wolves then decided to sort of come back into it a bit. They sort of crept back into the game. Didn't really offer that much. And then again, I think we switched off. I thought, again, we lost balls. I thought Bruno Fernandes, again, lost balls. I thought Bruno Fernandes went missing. They then started to run down the channels. They started to put balls into the box. They started to use the both sides. They started to do what teams do. They started to get the ball in between the centre-backs. I thought Heaven was okay. Luke Shaw was okay. Mezrabi was okay. And I'm sorry, but then they scored. It was coming. It was coming. I thought Bruno and Casemiro were to blame for that. I thought they could have closed down more. They scored a goal. And then Wolves looked like, to me, they looked like the ascending team. We looked shell-shocked. We couldn't get hold of the ball. And it was just one of those performances, again, that you just thought, even though we are creating like opportunities, what side is going to come out, right? Let's go through the chats. Ref was good today. Mount in 2025, 3 goals. What is going on with football? United should have had 3-0 up in the first half. Time to leave Aras and Larson on the bench and give players like Mane and Hugo more pitch time, as these will be the players we have left next season. Look, Wolves today. I mean, look, Wookie. I actually have a lot of respect for the Wolves fans, a lot of respect for the Wolves players. You're going through a terrible time. I've got a lot of respect for the fans. What they did today, I think, was commendable. Your team can only do what it can do. And again, Wolves, I think today were just they put up a good fight, but ultimately ultimately, I think what Wolves look like they're going down, and never nice to see. Whatever says hi. Abracadabra as well, says Wookie. JB pass from Cunha was awful. Fernandez slipped because of the balls behind him. He did well to get a shot. Look, I just thought, look, Bruno Fernandez showed a little bit of showed some desire to go for the ball, right? Yeah, I agree. Cunha slipped. Bruno Fernandez had no right really to go for the shot. The shot still wasn't great. The keeper should have had it all day long, but look, it doesn't really matter. Bruno, he scored the goal, right? I don't watch cricket. Happy for the win. Any win is great news, but I need to keep our feet on the ground. Stop getting carried away. What have the players allegedly said during the week? I missed that. So let me get through the game, and then I'll shall I pause there? Yeah, fine. Okay. So then, yeah. So second half, right? So let's get through the second half. I think it was extremely disingenuous to say we were barely creating first half in 34 minutes. We had 12 shots, 5 on goal. It would be more fair to say we were clinical. Look, I'm not saying that we didn't create a lot of chances. We created a bunch of chances which we didn't score, right? I've even said we probably should have been 3 or 4 goals up, right? We had some clear-cut chances, and I would agree with that. Clinical is definitely the word. Let's discuss the penalty. Way too soft penalty to give away. VAR. Someone missed the same thing in the first half. Wolves were protesting outside the stadium. I just woke up. Have we won the game yet? Yes, we won 4-1. Nicarucci, the first half was 100% penalty. January, New Year, and a new manager. We let Bell score. So second half, look. Second half, we were much better. What can I say? Second half, we were just improved. I think everybody in that team, I think Wolves didn't show a threat. They did a couple of bits and pieces, but then look, Fernandez, then he had space, and Fernandez does what he does with space. Fernandez, it still wasn't 100% the best, but we took our chances. We seemed to enjoy the second half more. Was it Delo that put in Bruno through? Scored a goal. Mason Mount scored, which is always nice to see. And Fernandez scored a penalty. You can argue the penalty. I think we probably should have had the one in the first half. Second half was maybe a bit soft, but we got the penalty. I thought second half, I felt comfortable. I think Wolves, as soon as we got that second goal, I think it finished Wolves off. I thought all round second half was comfortable. It reminded me very much of the Brighton game. I felt comfortable until they scored 2, but that didn't happen here. And I thought Mason Mount, for me, I thought he had a good game. Bruno had a decent game. Casemiro, didn't really notice Casemiro too much. I thought Heaven did well. Luke Shaw was steady. Majrawi was steady. Delo was steady. Ahmad, I thought was good. Cunha's a little still for me up and down. So yeah, let's go through that, and then I'll go through what was said. Liam says, "Have a good one, JB." Liam, respect you, my friend. The whole point of VAR is they're inconsistent. I'm a fan since 2006. Bruno should be playing 10. Maybe he'll be able to correct me. I've got no problems in Fernandez being a 10 at all. Reeve says the first half was crap. Second half was first time passes was better, and we created more chances. Second half penalty was soft. So look, Let's do scores. Let's give some scores, and then I will go through. I'll go through again what was said and what my problem is with these players still. He can only beat what's in front of you, Paul, and yeah, and it's true, Simon. That's so true, 100% true. So let me give you the scores. Lemens for me today gets a 6. So I'm going to mark the scores out of 10, 6 being an average. Look, today Lemens 6. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong at all. Nothing much to really do or say. The low for me. I thought he was okay today. I thought he sort of had some joy. Should have scored a goal. And now again, this is Wolves, but you can only play what's in front of you. I'd give him a 6. Luke Shaw, I'd give him a 6 as well. I thought Heaven was fine as well today. I'd give Heaven a 6.5 purely because he's a young lad. And I always like to see these young players do well. Mazraoui again 6. You can argue that he was a 6 as well. I thought average performance. Didn't do anything really wrong. I thought he was good. Ahmad, you could probably go for a 6.5. Nick says Heaven is only getting a 4 for me. Fair enough, my friend. It could be low for United fans. It could be at least a 10. A Ahmad for me, I like what he does with the ball. End product today, I mean, he's very, very good. But the moment he sort of goes into, I don't think he's a wing back still. I don't think that's his best position. But I do like his endeavour. I do like what he does with the ball. I'd probably give Ahmad maybe a 6.5. Casemiro, I didn't really notice Casemiro today too much. For me, in a midfield like that, and again the pivot at times I felt like the Wolves team just ran through the pivot. Casemiro today, I don't think Casemiro was okay today. I'd probably give him a 5.5. Bruno Fernandes, I'll save him for a bit. In Bumo today, you could argue 6.5, 7. I think you could argue any score today. I think in Bumo for me was probably 6.5. I think. Reva says plays like a talented 14-year-old. Cunha today, probably got to give him a 5.5. I think. If in Bumo's a 6.5, 7. I don't think he was particularly amazing today, but I like his work rate. Cunha on the other hand, I think Cunha was probably a 5 to 5.5 for me. I don't think he sort of had the best game. I think he tried too hard. I think he wanted to make a statement coming back to Wolves. If I was Wolves today, I'd be just like, I'm glad that we got the money for him. Cunha doesn't worry me as such, but I think that he needs to get confidence back. I think Fernandes hinders him a bit there. Mason Mount today for me, easy 7. I'm going to give him some love today. I'm going to give Bruno. I'm going to give Mason Mount some. Give Mason Mount 7 today. You could argue 7.5 because I want to see him do well. I really want to see him do well. So I'd give Mason Mount 7.5. And for me, Joe, Mason Mount for me is the man of the match for me. I like the fact that he's playing. I like the fact he scored another goal. He was busy today. As I say, you can only play what's there, but I like Mason Mount. Bruno Fernandes for me today, you could argue a 7. I'm going to go 6.5. I knock him down because, look, he's still not a captain for me. You can argue a 7 today. I'm not going to argue that. For me, Fernandes again, he's not a captain. He doesn't do captain things. He's not that guy. He was terrible in my view, the first half wasn't great, but the moment he gets space, like the second half, he absolutely dictated the play. Second half, he got a bunch of space, and he loved it. He got the ball, spraying the ball around. He was having a fantastic time, yeah. But that's not consistent, and he didn't do that in the first half. So if I was scoring halves, I'd probably go Bruno 7.5, maybe 8 for the second half, and maybe a 5 for the first half. So I'd probably give him somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7. And you can talk about the subs. Xerxes, Mainu, 6, etc. Dorgu, 6. But yeah, I think today, the reason for me why they're not scoring higher, if they'd have played like that against an Arsenal, they'd probably all be getting 8s. Because if you play like that, so if they play like that against a Villa away, they would all get 8s. You'd be giving Mason Mount a 9. You'd be giving Luke Shaw a 7. You'd be giving Bruno Fernandes probably a 9. You'd be giving, but because this is Wolves, 2-point Wolves, at home, abjectly awful. They've got to be scored down. Amarin today, what I score him? Look, for me, Amarin today just gets a 6. He gets an average 6 today. His team selection after what was said today, and I will come back onto that. Sorry, what's been said last week, and I will come on to that. His team selection today was pitiful. His team selection was weak, and I think he got bailed out by his players again. So for me, it's a 6. He went away, they did a job, and they won. Alex says, let me go back a tiny bit. Samuel says, we need a consistent and stop the over elaboration. Ahmad needs to mature in his game. Cunha needs to improve his game and keep it simple. Hi, bro. When are you going to post the number so I can call in the live? I might do a live at some point. How can you mark him for being captain, though? You cannot expect him to turn the captaincy down harsh, JB. And again, Alex, look. My problem is, I think I'm very, the problem with me is I can be quite stubborn, right? This is just my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong in this, and I will hold up my hands, right? Is that if I have a captain, and again, I've been very fortunate to have Roy Keane, right? To see Roy Keane, to see, even Neville, to see Pallister, Bruce, Robson. And this is just my view. I have to hold the captain of this football team to a high standard, right? Also, I have to hold Bruno Fernandes to a high standard, because whether the last 18 months, in my view, haven't been great, right? I've rated him for the longest time. I think Fernandes is a fantastic player. No arguments here. And he has been the best player. So for those two things, and the fact that he's a captain, in my view, I have to hold him to a different standard. So if, for example, Bruno Fernandes, for me, should be getting 6s and 7s every week, right? Bruno Fernandes, for me today, yes, he scored a goal, but there's just not. It's just the captaincy, isn't that? And look, it's a personal thing, and I've got no problems, and you won't hear an argument from me if you guys score Bruno Fernandes a 7 or an 8. Because I have to make sure that we've got these standards, I have to hold the captain above everybody else. And I have to see him be doing more than everybody else. And look, second half, I can't argue that he wasn't the best player. First half, he wasn't. So, for me, Alex is just a personal thing. Maybe I'm just stubborn, but I just have to hold this captain. For me, there are two positions in this team that I just hold above everything else. Is one, the captain, and two, the number 7. The formation will take us nowhere. I feel we're heading for a big drop this season. Pick a car for an edit. A Skyline R34. I've never seen Bruno motivate the players. Let me just go downhill. So look, before I go, so look, my position on these players haven't changed. So look, this week, just for my good friend Alex, look, my position at the end of this game is look, I'm not fooled by these players. I cannot stand these players. And the reason why I say that today, and the reason why I say Amorim, I'm losing respect for him. And again, you guys take this as you want, but this week, last week, Chris Wheeler in the Mail come out with this, that the current players feel the weight about what the ex-players are saying about them. They see the clips of what the ex-players say, and it pisses them off. Their view is that the ex-players should know what the weight and the pressure is like for playing for this club. So they want a level of understanding, because they don't currently feel like they are supported by the ex-players. So they basically come out and said the players feel the weight about what the ex-players say, and it pisses them off. It pisses them off that treble winners and title winners, double winners, FA Cup winners, criticise these players because they know what it takes to win for this club. I will say this time and time again, those shirts behind me, there's not a single player now that is fit to wear that shirt. You can disagree with me, but in my view, there's not one of those players fit to wear that shirt. So they're moaning and they get pissed off because the ex-players are criticising them, because in their view, they're ex-players and they should know the pressures of playing for this club, and they should be understood. And I'm not going to single players out here, right? But the fact that these players now are calling out ex-players, are getting pissed off with being criticised by ex-players who have won stuff. You're talking about pressure for playing for this club. I get it, because fans do get on to these players' back. But if we're talking about pressure, the pressure of winning the league, winning each game from the probably, or in my view, the best manager in the modern era, the pressure from him of winning every single game, the pressure of winning every single game, the pressure of winning a league, the pressure of going again and winning the next league, the pressure every season of winning a cup, the pressure of winning the treble, the pressure of captaining this squad, the pressure of expectation from the club, from the captain, from your teammates around you to win. You've got the likes of Beckham, who after 98, any other player would have crumbled. Beckham was absolutely hounded. Beckham was treated like he was the devil. And he came back to this club, and the pressure that he dealt with of coming back to this club and getting through it cannot be understated. And these players are calling out ex-players. These players are calling out because these players, the ex-players, are very mean to them, and it pisses them off. And in their view, these ex-players should know the pressure. They want a level of understanding. We finished 15th last season. We finished 15th last season and lost a final. And these players are coming out. And I mean, this is what I'm saying. This is why I can't stand these players. I cannot stand these players. I absolutely detest these players. You know, they're I'm not all of them. You know, I don't include everybody, but just as a team, what a toxic, horrible bunch of players. And I and then we had a statement, a Delo then come out and said, so this was from the player, the quote, I think we need to be a bit more obsessed about playing for this club. And again, I'm not calling him out, by the way. This is just his words. And I do sort of admire it a bit, but he is sort of, you know, thrown his teammates under the bus a little bit. Says, I think we need to be a bit more obsessed about playing for this club, winning games, winning trophies for this club. But, and, you know, he's basically admitting that these players are not obsessed about winning for this club. He's saying that, you know, these players need to be more obsessed about winning games, winning the cups. He then says, I think we have to win straight away because of the club, that's what it demands. And then he says, I think we've played this season. I think we can be very, very good. And I think we can beat anybody. I mean, I disagree. I mean, we've not been really, really good this season. And we can't beat anybody because if we did, we wouldn't have lost 1-0 at home. We wouldn't have drawn to West Ham. But the most concerning thing for me is saying that I think we need to be more obsessed about playing at this club. You know, with the combination of the Chris Wheeler stuff, the combination of that, I mean, it just goes to tell you what a bunch of entitled, low IQ, light switch players that we have collated at this club. And you know, it is the likes of today that, as much as we've won, it to me it's a massive stick your finger up. To me, it's an absolute massive. It's just an absolute massive up yours. You know, they've won today, but they've not won for you. They've not won for me. These players today have won for their ego. Now, you don't say these things, these alleged things, you know, and Chris Wheeler from the Mail is not going to make this up, because if he did, he'd get sued to buggery. And then the other statement comes out from a player's mouth. So we have collated these bunch of inflated egos, these light switch, low IQ, horrible players, and it's not like they do this for free. We're talking about these arsehole players who get paid millions. I know, and whilst the cost of living is high, right? Whilst you people and me, we pay our taxes, our exorbitant amount of taxes. Food is increasing, heating is increasing, and these low IQ players who get paid millions and millions of pounds turn up for one game against Wolves, and they want to be adored. You know, tomorrow, social media, they're going to be all over it tomorrow, giving each other high fives. No doubt channels are going to come out tomorrow with, oh, you know, we're back. You know, and these players are still going to be here. These players are still going to be here. What are we going to do the next match? Are we going to win at home? You know, if we want to win, if we want to get into the top four, because of how bad they've been, we cannot lose. If we had have won all of our games up till now, including the Bournemouth game, right, we would have a little bit of leeway in points to maybe draw against Villa, or maybe lose against Villa and win against the Magpies. but because of how shit they've been. And look, we're not just talking about a single game here. We're talking about Spurs, Grimsby, Everton, West Ham, Forest, Fulham. You know, what has come out has absolutely just summarised these players. Summarised these players that they feel the weight of what ex-players say. It pisses them off. You play for one of the biggest clubs in the world. We need to be more obsessed about playing for this club. How are you not obsessed by playing for this club? And look, other than the performances this season, when you then hear that, today for me is look. Today's a win. Celebrate a win, and then we quickly move on. I do not want to sit here and big up a win against Wolves, big up a win against a club with 2 points, big up against a club whose fans are frustrated like us against their owners and are actually doing something about it. You know, they've got a team that are obviously, you know, feel the fans. They know where the club is. You know, they're doing their best, and we can't. I'm not going to sit here, and I'm not going to, other than tonight, I'm not going to sit there tomorrow and be just like, oh, what a win, guys. Nah, heads down, Bournemouth. Let's win that one, and then it's on to Villa Park, because Villa haven't lost at home for 33 games. So, you know, that is where we are. Let me go through your chats before I go. I think we should stick with all time. I've never seen Bruno yet. We've done that one. First time watching you, and I've subbed. Alex, thank you, Alex. Look, Alex, and again, I apologise. You know, but yeah, you know, thank you. Ex-players have a lot to say, but I can't wait to see them in. Ex-players have a lot to say. Just look at how Neville did better as a player than shocking as a manager. Rather than whining, show the ex-players that they're talking rubbish by performing on the pitch. The ex-players know better than anyone. Alex, I couldn't have summed it up better. Absolutely, absolutely perfect. I could not have summed it up better. You going to Sorcon next year? No. The problem for current players is the ex-players are right. Some performances are embarrassment to the club. Alex, spot on. I've only just spotted your elf hanging up. Yeah, here you go. Look, see? Yes. Sadly, winning against a bottom side is nothing to brag about. DJ says they couldn't lose today against a 2 points team. Alex says we need homegrown talent who have the club in their blood. They live and breathe United, like Neville Brothers, Scholesy, Beckham, Giggs. One club players are going to be gold dust going forward. I agree, Alex. Don't underestimate. They can do the unthinkable. We're playing two top teams, 4 teams in the next 2 weeks. Fenerbahce are a good side as well. We shouldn't have sold Rashford. Rashford hasn't been sold. Rashford is coming back, apparently. So down the line is back. Hello, down the line. Legend. Salah is not coming. Salah would just be another Bruno. My friend. Down the line gets banned for being a twat. Okay, so look, guys, amazing show tonight. I mean, look, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, guys. The place after to underestimate they're playing for the fans. They're not playing for the fans, mate. They don't play for the fans. They're not playing for the fans at all, mate. Interesting, actually. So the poll tonight is going to end that poll. So basically, it says, "Are we back?" 25% of you say yes, and 75 say no. So look, it's interesting where we are as a fan base. I think there's a significant amount of people who think that we are back because we've won a game. And look, it is. I think it's such a. I think it's such a interesting viewpoint to have, right? United are back with vengeance. Look, if that's your view, I've got no issue with that. So look, guys, thank you for being here. What an interesting debate tonight. Thank you to you all. I mean, there's so many names now on here. Big shout out to Alex as well. Thank you for being here as well. Nikarutsu as well. Everyone else in the chat. Scott, Bobby, Danny. You're all legends. Look, the only thing that I can say is, look, we won. Good turnout for the poll. Yes. Yeah, it was. Get the prawn sandwiches ready because United are back. I wish we were. So look, guys, absolute legends. I'll always say this. You guys make the channel. You guys, Nikarutsu, mate, absolute pleasure, my friend. Pleasure. You are a legend of the channel. So thank you, my friend. You guys make this channel. Thank you for being here. I never underestimate, and don't you guys underestimate the impact that you have on me. Don't underestimate the impact that you have on the channel. Your comments. I love the debate. We don't always have to agree. I will apologize if I get things wrong. I think it's really important. Keep smiling. You're right. It's really important that if I get things wrong, I will happily apologize. But yeah, you guys are legends, and you guys make this channel fantastic. So without you guys, the channel doesn't exist. So look, again, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Tell as many people as you can, get into this amazing community. You guys you get bigger and bigger and bigger. You guys are just, I can't even describe how amazing you lot are. So, thank you for being here. We won. I wish I could be a little bit more animated. The more games that we win, the better we are. Google Chrome says, I will give you 8K for all the shirts and trainers. Happily, mate. Happily, mate. Alex, look, thank you. And again, special shout out to Alex. Absolute brilliant. I've absolutely loved. I've loved your opinions tonight. Absolute fantastic, Alex. Just brilliant. You can be animated with Xmas filter and extra. Yeah. I look. Hopefully, I will be actually. I probably am going to do a show. I probably am going to do a show from the North Pole, which is not a joke either. So I am actually going to Lapland. What's your day job? So my day job is I'm an IT consultant. I'm a finance IT consultant. That is what I do. Nijax African Sports says, I love the channel already. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you so much. So yeah, I probably will do the game next Monday. What's next Monday? Next Monday is the 15th. So yeah, I'll do the game next Monday, and then I think I'll probably do a stream from the North Pole, because I am going to go there. So if I can do a stream from there, I will be doing a stream from the North Pole. So one day next week, I'll probably will be taking my shirt out there, and I'll be doing a stream from Santa. So look, that should be cool. But guys, look, legends of this channel, you guys are absolutely brilliant. Lapland, make sure to bring your United scarf and hat, mate. I'll be bringing it all, mate. I'll be bringing it all. I'll be bringing the game to Santa. Santa ain't gonna know what's in. Guys, legend. I will be back at some point tomorrow, probably an evening show because I'm not going to have time during the day tomorrow. Thoughts on Salah? Salah is going to do what he's going to do, right? I've got no opinions on him, mate. He's not my player, so I don't know, mate. Santa's already wearing red and white. Exactly. Santa supports us. I think he's frozen. So, guys, legend. I will be back probably tomorrow night. And Vise, what do you want for Christmas? Say top 8. What do I want for Christmas? Keep smiling. I'd love a top 6. But look, if we can get a European position, I'm happy with that. Make sure to set the notifications to also you don't miss the streams. DJ Superfly guy, legend. I will be back tomorrow. You guys are bloody legends, all fantastic, and I'll see you tomorrow. So take care, and I'll see you all very, very soon.